Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm currently traveling this week, so I apologize. I'm not in my studio, so the quality is not as good as it normally is. But anyway, we've got a show to do today, so I'm excited to welcome you to Coexistence and Sustainability with Pet Psychic Aminah. Before we bring her out, I do want to just announce, in case you're not aware, that we have an ongoing commitment to reach 100,000 subscribers by September the 15th. So we started at 37,907, and today, which is the 9th, by the way, not the 10th, it's 45,206. So we've picked up 6,106 subscribers in the last 28 days, which is amazing. On our second YouTube channel, if you're not aware, we have this as well. It's Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. And we started out at 6,949. And today, which is the 9th, we have 19,588 subscribers. So we picked up 10,930 new subscribers in 28 days. All right, we're going to get this show started. Our show today is about porpoises, and Pet Psychic Aminah is backstage. She's ready to join us. She's been with me since the very beginning, which is 3 years now, and still going strong. And she is not only a pet psychic, but she's also someone who's very passionate about the environment, very passionate about coexistence, and why each and every one of us, all creatures, big and small, have a right to be here. So today we're going to be focusing on the life and challenges of porpoises. Let's welcome Pet Psychic Aminah to the show.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today? I guess she's not too good. She just dropped off. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, it's technology. So we're going to continue on with the show. For any of you who are out there and you're watching us for the first time, please do go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. It's USA Global TV and Radio or Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Let's welcome Aminah back. You were here, then you were gone. I wasn't sure what's happening.
Yeah, me and the backdrop is having a conversation. I'm like, no, come. They said, no, I don't want to. You don't come. And then I hit the wrong button to just go, never mind. I just got out. Oh, well, didn't help that either.
That's all right. We don't
just imagine I have the green screen over here.
Yes. Well, just imagine that you are green as well. So we're talking about porpoises today. And before we get into that topic, some people are wondering, what does a pet psychic have to do with coexistence and sustainability? So why don't you tell us how you became passionate about this? Because obviously you and I started 3 years ago, having met on LinkedIn, and we were doing a different show than we're doing today. We actually were focusing on your abilities as a pet psychic and having people call in, and we've really transformed from that to where we are today, coexistence and sustainability. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, thank you so much. I would love to say I got this great grand college education. I do have a little bit of that, but I was born this way. When I was a small kid, and I'm the fifth child of my parents, and I always talk to them in the first person, and they talk back to me in the first person. Is it a conversation like barking or meowing? That all has to do with it. Communication by people, by animals, we have gestures, we tug on our ear, we fuss with our hair, we twiddle our fingers and thumbs, literally. There's so much in conversation. Animals are no different. Some of them can wiggle their skin. It's just amazing, keep the flies off. And some will chew on their toes on bad days. There's so much to learn. What I always encourage every pet owner is talk to your animals. And I don't mean bark at them or meow at them. Talk to them in English. They will understand, just like anybody else, a second language. Is it perfect? No, because they're never going to say, Mom, fill my bowl, in English or French or any other language that people use. They're going to bring you the bowl, drop it at your feet and say, it's time. These are language. This is language for animals. And what we're doing here on this fabulous platform is giving you tips and ways to coexist, because my lifetime work is still going to be, how can we stop ruining the planet so we all get to the same great place in the end?
There you have it. Thank you very much. So part of the education that we provide, obviously we're a global platform. We now have 55 shows, which is amazing. And again, thank you for your loyalty.
I don't know why you're standing. You should be falling over and have the trees holding you. Exactly. I don't know how you do it.
For enough light, because I don't have my actual lights and green screen today. So but what I'd really like us to talk about before we move into the ocean guardians, the porpoises, for people who are thinking, well, I'm walking and I see a bug on the ground, I'm just going to step on it, or something is flying around me, I'm just going to swat it. Can you please explain a little bit from your experience, your expertise, and your knowledge, how each creature is here for a reason, and there's actually a whole symphony going on?
That's a great term. We haven't used that one. It is a symphony. And when you take out even one note out of, if you know music or orchestras or anything, it doesn't matter, because we all find out, wait a minute, I might need that. Wait a minute, I could use that. We're not just coexisting. We're doing more. We're creating a planet we all want to live in. So if we continue to have as much trash as we have, and we don't keep recycling at a bigger space every decade or year, we're going to continue to literally eat our resources with the way we live our lives. A cigarette butt being just thrown on the ground, it's somebody else's problem. I never got to ask a smoker why some of them do that. And there's got to be somebody who picks it up, because that doesn't biodegrade. Oh, well, it has tobacco in it. Well, it's been chemically tested so you can smoke on it and all this type of stuff. Not everything is simple or black and white or easily solved. But if we never get in the game of easily solving, where are we going to be? So remember that when you decide to take your boat out and it's only leaking a little bit of gas, or it's only leaking a little bit of oil, there has been entire schools and places where our love for oil, and they're out there getting it, and those pipes break or something else, it's a huge catastrophic event for the animals that live in the ocean or in fresh water. Everything in moderation. If you see somebody who goes out fishing because they find it very calming and easygoing, and they love having it back, but what happens if everybody does that? Everybody goes out and fishes and brings back a whole bunch of them. Well, who's making more? Who's going to make sure that the world is balanced? We talked about on a show a couple of weeks ago, where I hadn't brought up in one of my college papers I did on beavers. And it was fabulous, because the humans decided they wanted that area where the beaver was, and they're going to build all these homes, tract houses and condos and all this kind of stuff. And this is over 25 years ago. And they just said, oh, the beaver will move. Well, most of them died. And then they found out during the rainy season, the whole area flooded, and they hadn't done their due diligence to see that. And in the long run, they cut the houses back. They didn't build anymore. The beaver came back. The water problem went away. So we all need each other. Just because we don't understand, I'm still waiting for somebody to explain me the mosquitoes, why we're all sharing blood with them. So if you know, drop me a message at bridgingworlds.ed or bridgingworlds.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, Amina. Appreciate that. So when we think about the ocean, I know I actually wrote a children's book that was featuring the ocean. Mother Earth calls and the ocean's crying because of all the pollution
Right.
and because of all the netting. And we are going to get into porpoises, but I want to just talk a little bit about fishing, which you just mentioned. I have a number of friends who love to fish. And I like salmon. Salmon is a big staple in my diet. But the one thing I don't understand about the whole fishing concept is you go out to fish and the fish have to be a certain size in order to keep them. So you keep trying and you hook them and then you have to throw them back. And I think, what about the trauma that the fish that have been hooked? I don't know. Does it bother the fish at all? But
well, it's a hook in their mouth. So you got to tear it out. I don't know if you've ever had a hook in any of your body parts, but sadly I have. I got it stuck in my hand and I was like, no, just leave it. I'm fine. And I was about like 11 and everybody's like, no, you can't leave that in there. It's got bacteria. It's got this. And it's so imagine, because on those hooks, they have the reverse sharps. So when you pull it out, it tears the meat, tears the face, tears the skin, all of those things. So there's not a real, unless your hook is straight and doesn't have the little hooks to keep it in there. So somebody gets all torn up by it. Even if you're going to use that animal for food, it is a pretty terrible way because it's very painful. Witnessing, telling you it's very painful, and it can do a great deal of damage. So let's say you get a fish, you got to throw it back. I'd love to have the idea from Fish and Wildlife. I understand why the rules are they are, because you keep taking babies out, then everybody loses because they're gone. You got to have moms and dads and babies. But if you throw them back and there's nobody there to eat them, another predator, then that life got wasted anyway. So it's a really small line that a lot of Fish and Wildlife and all of these, they're trying to do well. They're trying to keep the world going. Finally, they're really stepping up into that. But if you've already hooked it and you can't keep it, there's the quandary, because you can't have that many, you can't have that size. How do you choose? How does the law see the difference? And all those fish go back, but they died anyway because you ripped up their mouth.
right, I hear you. This is why I'm not going fishing anytime.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I will visit you at the aquarium.
Yes,
And there's so many fabulous aquarium museums where you can go and see these fish in real life and where they're going and how they do their thing. It's just magical. And that can be true about pretty much every animal. I know people who absolutely love steer and cattle and all of that type of stuff, and they'll just hang out on the fence. I do not recommend you go visit with them, especially if you're not their owner. That could be really dangerous, because I promise those horns are real and they will hurt.
Look out. Well, today we're talking about ocean guardians, and porpoises are referenced as guardians. And from my research, what I found was that sometimes they're compared to dolphins, but that there are 8 different types of porpoise. What can you tell us about them?
Yeah, that absolutely true. So I put together my list also, porpoises versus dolphins. And here is just a real synopsis of it. They are different in species. They're different and that why? Because they're different in size. One likes cold water, and that is a habitat change. Where are you going to get cold water? Out in the ocean, mostly, that kind of stuff. They will, for example, bottlenose dolphins, and most of all the other dolphins, I haven't counted them all, they really like they have the long, what they call a beak, and extends to their face, and they're like temperate water. So not really, really, really cold. If it's coming off of the Alaska hill, probably not have any dolphins over there. They can come in white, pink, brown, blue, black. It's just amazing. So don't rush if you're out there and goes, oh, that's a dolphin, or this is a spinner dolphin. This is a Pacific white dolphin. This is a pilot dolphin. There's also one called the South Asian dolphin. Guess where it is? Probably it's in Asia. And the Rosano dolphin. In some way, they are different. Either topography, water, salt, as opposed to just regular creek water. There's a lot of differences. So, for example, there's one species called the harbor, and it's B-O-U-R, which is interesting end of the harbor part, porpoise. And they are critically endangered. And they are just a spectacular porpoise as far as what they're curious about. And they're in the Pacific fitness, very, very healthy. Porpoises are one of the largest of the species. So that's just, touching a corner of what we're talking about today.
Thanks so much. I think it's interesting. We were just talking about fishing and how you catch a fish and it's small and then you throw it back and it might not be able to live. Well, porpoise, from what I understand, their diet is primarily fish and squid. So some of those fish that we are taking out and then traumatizing, so to speak, in air quotes, but maybe not, they might be food for a porpoise or some other animal that's—
Well, they are. And that's what the entire ecosystem is. Everybody's chained to something. So what do the birds eat? All the bugs. All the bugs. Depends on if it's a worm that day or it's literally a fly going by. Somebody eats somebody. What humanity, we get on our high horse. Ironic that I use that term, but it works. And we get on our high horse and expect everybody to say, "Oh, but we're the kings. We're the ones that create everything." No, there's an entire earth that deserves to come first sometimes, or second, or at least be not on the plate, on the table, and say, "Hey, this is a great dinner. Wonderful. How many people died for that? How many animals died for that meal?" And the more respect we have for the things we have, whatever that is, then I think we all will live a better life. Have a stalk of broccoli once in a while, or there's still resources that are used for that, and the land that is used for that. We're never ever going to be 100% not using outside sources, because that's the planet we live on. And part of coexisting is that we all get a piece of the cake. And what is this slang? Piece of pie. Everybody gets a slice of the piece of pie. And some people feel like they deserve the half and everybody else can scramble for the other half. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way. We should easily be able to say, I've got this, I can have this. There's a lot of times I've seen ranchers and farmers have grain that they wouldn't necessarily feed to the animals that it was bought. Maybe it's going bad or it's not there yet. But if you know that and you check with a veterinarian, you check with other people out, there's so many animals that are bottom feeders and are going to eat the residuals of what's left. But what else? Maybe you could plant a tree that gives shade and fruits. There's so many creative ideas. You don't have to rely on just the grocery store to get your food, but also to share the world with what they need.
Thank you, Amina. Great point. We've talked before on other episodes about animal testing, and I did find some research that there's certain species of porpoises that are kept in captivity and used for research and educational purposes.
Yep.
What can you share with us about that?
Yeah. So while I was in college and doing my animal science degree, there was a lot written on it. And dolphins are one of, or it was then, one of the most, the elephants are in there also, but they were always being researched heavily. They wanted to see what they knew. Elephants always had a reputation of having basically a walnut-sized brain. And maybe that's still true today. Maybe they've changed their mind. Again, I'm not in that arena anymore. Didn't catch up on it. But look at all what animals do. Even an inchworm. If you watch a little inchworm walking by and it's gone to that leaf and it's eaten some of it, but didn't eat it all, what is in there? There's not a class for the bugs. There's not a class for the birds. It's all instinct. It's all the way they were put together when they were in their mom's tummy and then how they came out. Why so many of us who are trainers really, really want to talk to people about, yes, there are animals that were bred for fighting, sadly, and this still goes on. There's animals that were meant to be 6 foot tall or 2 feet wide or little bitty stubbies. But with all of that designer breeding we're doing and away from what, say, a wolf looks like, and that's where our dogs originated in that line. And can you imagine where the cats are all coming from, different size? But this is where we now see generations later, hip dysplasia is really, really sadly common in horses. I had a horse that had that, and in many other animals. And it can be, imagine the animal that has the big giant head, but a little bitty back, and then no tail. Well, if they have no tail, they can't swat the flies away from anybody by themselves. So you'll see sometimes pigs do this all the time, and they roll in the mud. It's in cartoons everywhere. But why do they do it? Because it keeps the bugs off. The bugs don't want to go through the mud, and they have these little tongues things to eat and bite with the mosquitoes, where the mud carries that. So before you make a change and say, oh, I don't like that. Well, I don't want my pet to do that. I don't like that. In our house, the biggest thing is, besides stop throwing up on the carpet, we have a lot of rescues, and a lot of times their tummies get upset. But also find out what they do love and what they don't love. We have a couple of cats that love to be in the cat tree, but up the highest, where we got another one just wants to be window level. Find out who you're dealing with. There is a personality in there. They are just like us, what we have experienced up to the point we all met each other. That's really important to honor that and find out why they don't do something or do something. It doesn't have to be our way. It really doesn't.
Thank you, Aminah. I want to circle back with the porpoises because I thought something was interesting about their sleeping patterns. And what I read was that they have something called slow wave sleeping patterns, where they, even though as mammals, they have to get sleep, but the part of their brain is sleeping while the other part isn't, so that they're able to swim and move around. What can you tell us about the slow wave?
Wow, you're really pulling on my college education here. That's over 10 years, 15 years old. So yeah, I hadn't thought about this in a long time. They are amazing. It's like what it seemed like when we were in the lab and really looking into these types of things. It was like you had a balloon for a head, and there was just air there, and you're sleeping, and things change, but they have the cognizant, if I can use that word, that their arms and legs and everything, and their nose, especially their ears and their nose, for all animals, especially if they're living outside, they click in milliseconds. I was like, wow, even I didn't hear the mailman coming up to the door. But let's say your cat's indoors, dog's indoors, they hear the trajectory of how the person's coming. I used to really depend on one of our pets. It was really funny because I didn't know this. I hadn't read it in my books yet, but I'm sitting there taking care of my daughter, making sure they're getting ready to take a nap or something like that. And the cat will all of a sudden sit up, turn his head, and then look at the front door. And I was like, oh, somebody's coming to knock at the door. And it can really freak somebody out if you get there first. But it was amazing to have the understanding on my part that this is what they are. So after a while, I just looked at my kids. And porpoises are amazing. Animals are amazing. Have you ever thought, Dr. JACALYN, how they sleep? Because they have to be in the water all the time.
Yeah. It's interesting. That's what I thought was so fascinating about porpoises, because part of their brain is shut off. So I imagine that other animals have the same type of thing. But from what I read, that the porpoises can't sleep 100% of the time with their entire brain.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why there's so much studies still being done today to really understand the brain, because how interesting is you can shut off that side and then turn on that side. And some animals have a lid, the ones in the water specifically, they have a clear lid so they can keep their eyes clean for all the stuff coming at them, but they can still see. So it'd be like us wearing glasses, but more like, the ones that fit in your eye and something like that. So the way that they're put together is for the environment they're supposed to be living in. So again, if you decide elephants should live in the desert, some of them are made for that, but not most. So a lot of people find they get trapped in an animal they think will be cute, it'll be wonderful, we'll get this lizard, we'll get this thing for my kids and I, and you find out, wait a minute, they're losing their skin all the time. Usually, if it's not a natural sloughing of the skin, and a lot of the animals do that, we're talking stress. So where you have your terrarium or your housing for an animal that's in a cage, make sure you know what kind of environment they need. For bunnies and rabbits in general, I showed those for years, they have the worst acidic urine. So we would make the hutches, that's what the cages are called, out so the urine and the little pellets of poopy could go through. But guess what, Dr. JACALYN? After a few times, a few weeks, it's felt like a few weeks, it was probably a whole year, and I had to replace the metal bottom because their urine is so acidic. And that's just the way they're made. It doesn't mean they need more water, but they need water. It's really, really important. So if you decide to adopt a rabbit and you don't know they'll burn a hole in your carpet if they be, you might want to look into that before you adopt, because so many of the animals have these needs. And it might be good now, and you have to reintroduce it later. Be open for that.
Thank you so much. Openness is key. One thing I just want to discuss also, whether it's porpoises or any type of animals, we've talked about this, but not specifically about the ocean. What are your thoughts about going fishing and collecting sea creatures to put into your aquarium at home?
Well, they don't transfer very well because you're really doing the shock and awe. We've all been to like the fairs and things like that, and they put ping pong balls and you put them in little cups. Those are meant, these little fish are been made for retail, but you got to get them home in that bag for that. So if you're going to go out to the ocean, you're going to go to salt water, you're going to go seawater, you're going to go mountain water. It doesn't matter. Whatever the animal is, find out what they need. Now, if your whole point is to fish and eat them, most, not all, a lot of people who go fishing, they got them right then and there. They have a table, usually if it's somewhere on a dock or something like that, there's a place to do that. They usually throw the innards out back into the ocean. I've seen it all. People fry it, all of that kind of stuff. But by taking it out, you're keeping it from rotting. Let's say you're going to get it home, you're going to put it in the freezer. Well, you don't really want to do that with all the guts in there, and it can cause all kinds of taste issues besides care issues. And I'm sure a professional fisherman can give you very many more details. I'm just trying to give you the broad strokes of everybody needs something specific. All dogs are not necessarily going to eat the same food. Believe it or not, the horse I rescued and had for over 8 years was allergic to, drumming here, alfalfa. And it's impossible, I now know, having him with me for 5 or 6 years, that without alfalfa mixed in with the other grains and things I'm feeding him, he just couldn't keep on weight. And boy, did I get a lot of nasty looks and people asking me, why aren't you feeding that horse? And it was like, wait a minute, got time? I'll tell you what the vet said. And you need to give graciousness there and ask somebody, hey, are they supposed to be that thin? You know, are you trying something new? Are they sick? There's a nice way to pretty much almost ask anybody anything. And we all learn. We all take that education.
That's what we're providing here, global education for sure. So, what are some of the things that I haven't asked you today that you'd like to talk about when it comes to porpoises or any other animals that are living in the ocean or even in the rivers?
If you really, really want to see them, I would love that you guys all rent a boat and go out in their area. But I don't know what kind of boat you're, getting and what kind of pollution they do or not, or what they're, maybe they're just out. There's whale watching groups, and there's all kinds of regulations against that. So hopefully that carries over. But if you're not able to do that, I don't know about your area, but I haven't seen a pet store, Dr. JACALYN, in, I don't know, 10 years. They all ran away or something. But if you really want to be around animals, go volunteer your time at the shelters, because these animals are left or had too many babies or whatever the reason is, they are there. They get adopted and get new homes faster when they're handled, when they're, having as best a life as we can while they're in a kennel and in cages. And you can do that and not have to take any of them home, not have to feed anybody. You go to the store and buy their food, do their vaccines. You'll learn so much about yourself. You'll learn so much about volunteering. I'm a huge, huge advocate to volunteer. If the shelter is too hard for you, then maybe go somewhere you can clean the floor for them and just be around the animals, depending on your age and your experience. I worked at a wildlife sanctuary where we had animals that should have never been in homes. And so they came to the wildlife sanctuary, and we did have a whole troop of medical research chimpanzees. You can't put those in zoos. They carry all the diseases they were tested on. So the need is out there. The need is out there if you can be creative in thinking and just start networking with people. Say, hey, you know anybody who, wants their cat babysat, or, start low and you'll build it from there. Talk to your mom and dad, talk to your friends at school. I'd love to have a cat. My dad's allergic to it. It can happen, but he said I could, maybe go and take care of somebody's. You'd have to drop, your clothes as you come in, because some people are deathly, their allergies are really, really bad. But guess what? The neat thing is, hopefully your family member who has a little bit of allergies will get better just being lightly exposed in their own time. So do think about that.
Volunteering is definitely a good way to see how much you are really interested in taking care of something, because it's always like, oh, I have a great idea. I want to get a dog, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And then we get them into the home, and that's another story. So,
well, yeah, it was so many times. I've only luckily had to return a pet once, because the fit with my kids and where we were at was bad. And we worked for months. We talked to the clinic, because we usually go and get all our animals. Either somebody gives it to us, we have a couple of those, or we go to the shelters when they have these grand free adoption center, places where all the vaccines are up to date. Don't beat up yourself if you did the best you can. Just know maybe next time you'll be in a better place, or you'll have more knowledge. If you cannot reach out to have somebody help you at the time, sometimes, I don't advocate it unless it's health for both of you. The cat's not happy, the dog's not happy, the people aren't happy. It's not always the best fit. Sadly, we have divorced parents too. So we do this all over the place. Sometimes a relationship just doesn't fit at that time. Doesn't mean you can't do it later. Or go help somebody else who has cats, who has a dog, who needs their lawn mowed, and they let you play with their lizard. Be creative. You just never know when people are going to say yes.
And if you can just share with us, if you actually have a pet and you decide you don't want it, what can you do?
Well, that's what I'm talking about, especially with, oh, this didn't work out. be careful on, yes, I want you to tell the truth. If you go to the shelter and say, we really can't handle him, he's too runs around too much, he never settles down, we can't get any sleep, and now he's chewing on my son's homework. You just give it to the teacher, whatever that is. Please look for somebody like me or anybody who you trust that knows a lot about pets. Now, if you're doing your next door neighbor and you just assume they know a lot of stuff because they always talk about how much they know, please go to the library, read up on it on your own. Do not stick with just any trainer or every trainer. I'm not the trainer for everybody. I'm not the private speaking gig everybody, but everything is a test. Be kind on yourself, but get the help. Get the help you can. There's a lot on YouTube. You can just Google it all you want and get the titles down. All my shows here with Dr. JACALYN are all on YouTube. You can see the ones from way back when and coming forward. There's a lot of resources that you can check out to get the help you need and where to go next. So I always recommend talk to any of your vets. Even if they're not your vet, you'll get the vet assistant on the phone probably, and they might have resources. Might is pretty low. They probably have resources that they can give you and say, hey, I know somebody who babysits cats and she knows a lot. She might talk to you. He might talk to you. Give them a try. There's a lot of resources out there.
Fantastic. I want to make sure we get to look at your website, which we brought up here. It's bridgingworlds.us. Take us a walk through here of what we can find on your website.
Well, the first part is I want everybody to see if they can find the kitty. Because what I didn't know when I took this picture is there's a kitty in my picture. How prophetic was that? So let me know, everybody. Bridgingworlds.us is the website. And it literally means I want to be there to bridge the gap between all of us and the information we have, what we know, and what you need to know. So all of these shows you're going to get on the YouTube that Dr. JACALYN and I have done is going to put a face to the words and give you tips from there. There's all kinds of things you can do with your animals. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff you should never do. And I got all of that in all of these places. I'm, of course, on Facebook, and all these shows are out there. So please take some time and learn a few things. And if you want to learn something else, let us know. And I'll have us do it on the show with Dr. JACALYN and make sure everybody hears it. Because I can definitely miss a few topics.
I don't know what episode this is. I want to say it's 181 or 2.
Something like that, yeah.
And there's 52 weeks in a year. And I was thinking today, you have never, ever missed a show, to my knowledge.
I hope not. And, because I love what I do. I love working with you. You've made it seamless. And you have learned quickly about all the little things I can do and can't do and shouldn't do. No, we don't have a shouldn't list, I don't think. I have too many cats, probably that. So.
We don't, but I was sharing with friends, actually, I think it was a little less than a week ago, about all the things that I've learned from you. Okay. And as a result, all the things that I don't do anymore, that I don't buy anymore, you've actually saved me a lot of money. So thank you.
Well, yay. and all we need is that friendship and the caring for others and just saying, wait a minute, have you ever thought about this or this? Like, I can't tell you how many silly times, and I think you'll get this, that I don't go out and buy a can of lacquer because I'm finishing a piece of wood or something. I go out in the dollar store and get some hairspray on the ones that I just wanted to stick and work it around it. And I said, okay, I want the really stiff stuff. I just want that, because I was in cosmetology for long enough going, I can make this hair just stand right there and never move. Why can't I make it a leaf? It doesn't work really well, but it's a lot of fun. And it makes a nice gloss on the plants. And then I dry them. And no, you got to have fun. Everything does not have to be for one purpose.
That's very true. And we have a lot of fun together. And thank you so much for taking this ride with me. I just want to mention that yesterday I met with one of our team members in person because, we've been working virtually. So I met with Diane Floyd Beam in person, and it was so nice. So I'd love to meet with you in person in the future as well. So
absolutely got to come down to that mosquito country. I don't have enough bites in California.
What do you want to leave us with today as people are either into their weekend already? It's Saturday in some parts of the world, or it's Friday night here. It's Friday afternoon for you. What would you like to share?
Be kind to yourself. Be able to say, I'm sorry. Be able to love something or someone, if it's a program you want to support or whatever. And don't worry about what little you come into with, but what you're willing to learn and go out with. There's so much we can do if we do this life together, whatever that is. If it's giving up Coca-Cola, or it's helping with stray animals, everything matters if you get out there and do it. And I know you can. So wishing everybody well, and hug a pet. You'll love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, just so happy and appreciative for you taking your time for all these years and being here and sharing all your wisdom and knowledge. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. For people who are listening on our audio platform, by the way, every episode is now available as a live streaming broadcast, which is what we're showing right now, whether you're watching us live or sometime in the future, as well as an audio podcast.
Wow.
So you can actually find our audio podcast under USA Global TV and Radio Podcast. What a surprise. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and anywhere on the podcast platform. So
that's wonderful.
Thank you again, Amina. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Bye. All right. Thank you again. Please to reach out to Amina, bridgingworlds.us. You can find her on LinkedIn as well as Facebook. So as we close out today, I just want to announce a couple of things in case you weren't aware. We are going for 100,000 subscribers. I shared that already. It's key. Why? Because people like Amina are spending their time to educate and share. And the more people watching, the more people are going to be gaining information and education. So thank you for supporting Amina and all of our TV show hosts. I realized the other day we now have 33 television show hosts from all over the world, which is incredible. So my heart is full. We have a new show that I just wanted to share. It's Weekly Wisdom and Insights with Dear James, spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. So if you don't know of Dear James, he's been around for a while. He's an expert when it comes to so many different topics. And I'm really proud to have him with us today, sharing his insights. So please have a wonderful weekend. As Amina said, be kind to yourself, take care. Let's find gratitude and lift each other up and find the positives that we can in life. That's all for now. Bye.